This is just... Okay. I was muted on the other platforms. I literally haven't even said anything to chat yet, because I'm trying to fix something behind the scenes, go figure. And I've already got a warning from TikTok that says, this behavior is not in line with our policies and may result in gifting suspension. Reason, repeated or prolonged actions that lack sustained engagement, such as remaining off-stream or non-interactive. Excuse me? I've literally been live on TikTok for 3 minutes. It is so blasphemous. How? How does that happen? God forbid you don't talk to chat for a whole 3 minutes because I'm setting up. That's crazy. And there's nothing I can do about that. That is just so crazy.
Excuse me? Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy?
I have never had this before. That is so blasphemous. Maybe talk to chat, I don't know. Wow, I never could have thought something so sarcastic. How incredibly helpful of you. Really valuable feedback. Hello, Dova. Hello, Billingham. Hello, Father's Slice. Hello, Zakari. It's good to see you. Hello, Wood. Hello, Greg. Why are you repeating yourself? Thank you, thank you, StephTsu. Very unique username. You know what? You guys seem to... Everybody seems to be coming out with the sarcasm and the punches today. That is crazy. And I'm gonna let you know that we're gonna tone it down. Alright? And that's not an option. Like, that, it is not a choice for you. You are going to tone it down. I have my water here. And I have my tea. And we are going to read.
1.
Hi, anxiety. Let me double check my microphone settings. Yep, all correct. And I need to size that. TikTok? Yeah, I don't know what they're on, but they can kindly stop. They're certainly on something, and I'm not putting up with it. And we're gonna hit the button again. so that everything is going to work as it's supposed to. Okay? And then we don't have to worry about anything, because all of our problems will magically just be whisked away. Let's hit these. Okay. Okay. We are... All right. We are going to get ourselves all situated and all set up. And we're gonna have a nice, fresh start. What do you say? Let's make sure that I've got these pulled up in the background. All right. This one's gonna require special attention, I know. And this one has to go in the background as well. All right. Well, would you look at that? I think we are all ready to start streaming. Streaming? Reading. Close enough. It's all the same here. There is a puzzle up and a puzzle going. If you would be interested in solving the puzzle while you listen to me read, highly encourage. Exclamation point puzzle if you are on Twitch. If you are not, check out the link in my profile and you will find another option that says community puzzle. You can solve the puzzle there. Thank you, welcome. All right, we are going to continue where we left off. If you would like to control the stream, exclamation point lights, exclamation point head pats. If you are on Twitch, if you are not, you have to be on Twitch. Otherwise, you don't get those features. Anyway, welcome. We are reading Drown the Stars. This is a alien sci-fi kind of soap opera-esque drama. It's amazing. We are over halfway through the book. We are on a very intense chapter. Chapter 11 consists of 760 pages. We are, I believe, I didn't count last time, but I believe we're maybe halfway through the chapter, maybe a little more. I do record, therefore I will not be responding to every single comment, and I do hope you understand. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining the TikTok live. Yova, thank you for being here. Khalil, hello, welcome. And I do want to ask the community. I meant to make a Discord announcement. Yes, we are back. Welcome. I did want to make a announcement to the community, and I will follow this up with a Discord announcement. Sci-fi soap opera, so space opera. Yeah, it's a space opera. That I am requesting that we respect some new boundaries. I, going forward, do not want to be described as or called sexy in any form. I am not trying to be a lewd content creator. I am not trying to flirt with anybody. I am not here being romantic or sexual in any capacity. I am simply a voice actor who enjoys reading and talking to people on the internet. So my character is also not designed to be sexualized. It is designed to be comforting and calm and peaceful and welcoming and friendly. So I do allow you to call me mommy in the sense that I bring you comfort like you would a caretaker, somebody who is reading a bedtime story to you. Sorry, I had to adjust the audio levels there. But I do not want to be called mommy in the sexual kink sense. That's not my preferred interaction. So going forward, I just ask that you respect that boundary and let's as a community kind of hold on to that boundary and that respect, because we are all here trying to be part of the same vibes and the same level of respect. So our number one rule in this community is that we respect everybody. We are respectful to everybody. And if somebody is being disrespectful to somebody else, if someone is being disrespectful to me, that regardless of whom is being disrespected, we should hold each other accountable. So I do appreciate you adjusting to this, and I appreciate you respecting my boundaries. Thank you. Hello, Lacey. Hello, Emmy. Hello, Pan. Hello, Khalil. Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. The puzzle is up if anybody would like to solve the puzzle. Tamashi, hello, welcome. All right. I am going to begin recording, and that means that I am not going to be reading chat, but I do hope that you enjoy listening to the story. Wokmaw and Zaylin both collapsed on the floor, panting heavily. Tiny flecks of metal and dust rushed to the space surrounding the crate, trying to escape to the void outside the pod. "Thank you," Zaylin said breathlessly. She rolled her head to face her brother. "Wokmaw, how do you say thank you?" "Nemeku." "Nemeku?" Zaylin told the scrounger. It stared at her with a liquid metal face, devoid of expression, and wrapped its fingers around her bioband. She froze, waiting for her body to disintegrate, but she felt fine. The place where the scrounger's eyes should have been transformed into a direct copy of her bioband's interface, presenting a list of her personal contacts. It released her wrist with a simple nod, and the display vanished from its head, leaving only oscillating metal.
"Do I still need to not move?"
Kellis shouted.
"'Cause my nose really itches."
I don't think that one was very clear, so I'm going to do that again. I think I have something to check on another platform as well. No, this is working fine. Okay.
"Do I still need to not move?"
Kellis shouted.
"'Cause my nose really itches."
Before Zaylin could respond, a frenzied scuttle sounded from inside the scrounger ship, and a Zavayan in an airlock suit dropped through the ceiling hatch, landing atop the supply crate with a whump. "Is everyone alive?" Vaine asked, voice crackling through Zaylin's airlock suit. Yes, Zaylin said, though she glanced behind her just to make sure both her siblings were in the same place they'd been 2 seconds ago. "Good. I'm docked in the bay directly next to this one. Get inside and let me negotiate with the scroungers." I'm gonna say that one again. Am I too close? There. Good. I'm docked in the bay directly next to this one. Get inside and let me negotiate with the scroungers. Vaine scooped up Kellis and inspected her like a fragile vase after a turbulent journey. What about the pod? What about the pod? Zaylin asked. Kellis squirmed in Vaine's grip and flailed in her arms, using her dangling sleeves to smack anything within a 2-foot radius. Leave it. Leave it, Vaine said, as Kellis finally settled against her shoulder. The pod is falling apart anyway, and it will make excellent kazuzu. It'll be our farewell gift. The scrounger lifted its arms above its head in obvious delight.
Chica prica!
Wokmaw mirrored its posture with a cheer of his own.
Yeah, chica brica! Chuk kazuzu!
He hesitated and looked up at Vaine.
Did I do good? Was my pronunciation okay?
Vaine shifted Kellis to pat Wokmaw's head. Absolutely perfect, kid. Let's go home. 2 hours before assassination. They made it home without any further incident. Even after safely entering the shipyard, Vaine refused to let the kids leave her sight and insisted on keeping both of them in the hangar while she fixed the Star Shark. She explained everything she did and had Wokmaw and Kellis complete minor bits of the repair under her careful, guiding fingers. Zaylin didn't exactly want to stay, but she didn't want to explain the incident to her father either. So she watched and ignored the jealousy gnawing in her chest. Eventually, the education schedule couldn't be avoided, and a crown guard came to collect the 2 youngest children of the crown and escort them to the instruction room.
I don't want to go,
Kellis said, clinging to Vaine's legs and burying her head in the knight's knees.
The teachers are boring.
Just endure them for a little while, Vaine said with a chuckle, gently patting Kellis's head. I'll be there in an hour with your engineering lecture. Okay?
That's too long.
No, it's supposed to be muffled, but...
That's too long.
No. How do I have to, embody my inner, what does a 5-year-old sound like? I do this all the time. I keep doing this, where I forget, how do I sound like a child?
That's too long. That's too long.
Kellis's muffled voice somehow managed to be more audible than Wokmaw's additional groans of protest. Vaine peeled Kellis away from her legs. It seems like an awful long time, doesn't it? The lecture starts in 5 minutes. Croxus, the senior crown guard, narrowed his eyes at Kellis's show of blatant affection. We need to go. He's right. Vaine glanced at Croxus. Vaine glanced at I literally just said it a second ago. Jem, thank you. Thank you. Croxus? Vaine glanced at Croxus. Can I speak to you for a moment?
Cheese. It's under the sauce.
Dang it.
There's no cheese on it. It's under the sauce.
I forgot. I gotta mute the walk-ins. He's right. Vaine glanced at Croxus. Can I speak to you for a moment, Sir Croxus? Sir Croxus? Fuck. I literally just had it. Can I speak to you for a moment? Oh my dear God. Can I speak to you for a moment, Sir Croxus? Sir Croxus? I suppose. Vaine shooed Kellis away and pulled Croxus to the side, speaking in hushed tones. Their conversation was short. The gray pearl Vaine pressed into his hand did not escape Zaylen's notice. Now would be an excellent time to leave and work on plans for her father's next invasion. Zaylen stood up to leave, but Vaine cleared her throat. Crown Zaylen, are you forgetting about your private lecture here? With me? Yes, Zaylen said. There definitely was not a private lecture planned, but she was smart enough to see what Sir Vaine was doing. My apologies. She glanced over at Croxus, but he'd already disappeared with her siblings and the rest of the guard. Swallowing, Zaylen clasped her hands behind her back and straightened her spine. Fuck. God, I can't talk today. Oh no, I guess I have to end stream. She glanced over at Croxus, but he'd already disappeared with her siblings and the rest of the guard. Swallowing, Zaylen clasped her hands behind her back and straightened her spine. What is the topic of your lecture, Sir Vaine? That depends entirely on you, Crown Zaylen. I'm here to answer whatever questions you'd like. Zaylen didn't want to talk. She sat down and waited for Vaine to prompt her further. But instead, the knight dragged a crate of tools over to the Star Shark and carefully selected a series of complex instruments. Any moment now. No instruction came. When the children had been there, Vaine had worked on installing the new escape pod, updating the software, reinforcing the hull, smoothing out the dents. Now that they were gone, she tackled the Star Shark's jump reactor and said nothing more to Zaylen. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. 30. Aren't you worried it will explode? Aren't you worried it will explode? Zaylen finally blurted, unable to stand the silence any longer. Vaine paused. She lay on her back with her arms deep inside the Star Shark's belly, and she twisted at its components before withdrawing her hands, gray fluid streaming from her fingertips to her elbows. No, I'm not. Why? Because I disconnected the Seradium conduit. I could fire a blaster cannon directly into the center of the jump reactor and nothing would happen. Besides the ship becoming unusable, of course, but at least it wouldn't be explosive. Vaine grabbed one of the many parts scattered around her and clicked it into place above her head. Oh, Zaylen said. She hadn't even considered that. If she tried to repair the ship herself, in the middle of space. I had to disable cloaking and auto-nav again. Vaine braced her foot against the Star Shark and gripped something with both hands, yanking free a metal part with a scraping clunk. Yanking free a metal part with a scraping clunk. There shouldn't be a hint that the escape pod got even even got deployed. And the jump reactor is proving to be an easy fix. Thank you, Zaylin said. If my father found out... Vaine scowled. I found a way to get around the king's locks. I'll teach you how to do it yourself in my next engineering class, which I hope you'll be attending even though it's technically outside your age bracket. I don't want any more calls like the one I got today. Understood, sir. Zaylin's shoulders slumped, but she quickly corrected and regained proper posture. Vaine glanced at her, then went back to work on the ship. Of course, I'm very, very glad that I was contacted. If you ever find yourself in a dire situation again, don't hesitate to call me. So, are you upset? Zaylin asked. The words barely made any noise at all. Of course she was. No, that's not correct. Vaine's hands dropped from the ship and fell over her chest. Yes, I am. Of course she was. Zaylin managed to make everyone disappointed. Her father, her tutors, even weepers. I'm upset, Vaine continued, because you got yourself and your siblings stranded in non-allied space. Kellis nearly died, and I know. Zaylin dug her fingernails into her palms, unable to remain composed. I made a mistake. Vaine slid out from underneath the star shark and grabbed a towel, wiping her arms and hands dry, leaving gray stains. Let me finish. You and your siblings almost died, and that hasn't bothered you nearly as much as the prospect of your father discovering what happened. Zaylin was tired of being lectured like a child. She stood up, determined to leave before the knight's words shredded through her gut. Why did she care about the opinion of some old weeper anyway? Listen to me, Vaine said. Her voice had a stern tone to it, one Zaylin had never heard directed at her before. I'm not angry with you. Yes, you are. I nearly got your liege killed. Zaylin felt like she was clinging to a dry cliff that crumbled under her grip the tighter she grabbed it. Tears burned at her eyes, darkening her vision, threatening to spill over. She needed to go. Now. She couldn't afford to become the worst thing a Vaine could be. She tried to run, but Vaine grabbed her shoulders and turned her around so she was forced to look into the knight's heavy gaze. I'm upset because I came too close to losing all of you today. And it would be devastating to lose all the heirs. And it would be devastating to lose all the heirs to the throne. I know. Zaylin tried to pull herself free and get away, but Vaine's grip remained firm. No. It would be devastating for me.
personally to lose you. Any of you.
She was lying. She had to be. She was lying in order to set up some sort of trap or make Zaylin feel even worse. You're Rokva's knight, not mine, Zaylin said. I'm not one of your kids. Disbelief, maybe even pain, contorted Vaine's features. What does that even... Zaylin, like it or not, the thought of losing you terrifies me. I'm not your knight, but I don't need to be in order to be worried. But I don't need to be in order to get worried sick about you. You're right. I'm upset. I'm upset because what scared me more than anything in the world, for you, it was just an afterthought in comparison to what your father would do. Shame heated Zaylin's face and stung her eyes. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair that on top of everything else, she felt like this. As Vaine her age was supposed to be stronger, especially over something so small. You're not a failure, Vaine whispered, brushing hair from Zaylin's face. I'm proud of how you handled everything today. You're doing just fine, and I'm upset that you think otherwise. That is what's making me angry. Nothing else. Zaylin's breath caught, and her shoulders began to tremble. She couldn't remember the last time anyone had spoken to her like this. Vaine pulled her into a tight embrace, and Zaylin faltered to return it. But I messed up, she whispered. I mess up all the time. I do stupid things. I'm not your liege. You have no reason to risk everything for me, for us. For a moment, Vaine was quiet. You're in pain, Zaylin, and it's not your fault. That's all the reason I need. Every muscle fell limp. Zaylin let her face fall into Vaine's shoulder, and she clung to the grease-covered knight as tight as she could. For once, she wanted to believe what she was being told. The peace remained until her bioband blipped, indicating a message from her father. "15.7 minutes before assassination. Meeting in the usual stratagem room. 5 minutes. Don't be late." Zaylin pulled away from Vaine's embrace and swiped a wrist over her eyes, though she was confident no tears had managed to escape. I need to go, Zaylin said. The king has requested me to a meeting. The king has requested me at a meeting, I'll see you tomorrow, I guess. Vaine frowned, checking her own bioband for the time. Does this mean you'll miss my engineering lesson? I don't know. I'll definitely be late. Now would be the time to contact Croxus and have him arrange an escort for her, but the thought of anyone seeing the puffiness around her eyes made her sick. I'll walk you there, Vaine said, providing a solution to a problem Zaylin dared not vocalize. Neither of them spoke until they approached the stratagem room. It was only then that the panic truly began to arise. Zaylin couldn't swallow the knot of anticipation in her throat. What if he knew? Sir Vaine offered a deep bow. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you, Crown Zaylin. Would you like me to stand guard for you? Thank you, Zaylin said. Some extra protection would be nice. You don't have to go inside, Vaine said, glancing around. Maybe there was a mysterious data scramble, and you never received your father's message? Zaylin winced. As tempting as that was, it would only make things worse. Best to simply get it over with. No. I just feel better knowing there's... No. I just feel better with someone at the door. Because of tradition. The furrow in Vaine's brow deepened. All right. Zaylin nodded. If she had learned anything today, it was that Vaine could get into places she wasn't supposed to. Taking a deep breath, Zaylin rolled her shoulders back and straightened her spine, becoming the image of a perfect crown heir. She'd only have to keep the veneer up for 10 more minutes. .8 minutes before assassination. The door slid shut behind the crown heir, and the access panel flashed violet, leaving Vaine alone in the hallway. She chewed her lip and folded her arms, trying not to overthink the situation. Something wasn't right. When it came to the antiplane, aliens made of corrosive acid, and the literal vacuum of space, Zaylin adamantly refused to ask for aid. But when it came to a meeting led by her father and staffed by the best warriors in the galaxy, she turned pale as the sky and wanted Vaine to stand guard outside the door. It made sense for Vaine to shrink from the king. She was a coward and a liar. Zaylin, though, was not a coward. Maybe Vaine had picked the wrong liege. The crown heir knight privileges would be far from useless now. If Vaine had been able to tell the kid was suffocating all those years ago, maybe today she'd be able to do more than wait and pray nothing terrible happened on the other side of that door. .7 minutes before assassination. Zaylin made sure her face was stony and blank as the door slid shut behind her, along with the standard officers the king brought to those meetings. The stratagem room contained a handful of new faces, replacing those who had been lost last week. Finally, Zaylin's father leaned over the stratagem. Zaylin's father leaned over the stratagem table. Finally, Zaylin's father leaned over the stratagem table, palms pressed against the biowater display. He didn't look up at her, and instead cocked his head at the sea of information made to manifest between. He didn't look up at her, and instead cocked his head at the sea of information made manifest beneath his fingers. His slouched spine and angled shoulders stood in stark contrast to the officers surrounding him, who all stood rigid as steel beams. "I apologize for not arriving earlier, Crown Kada," Zaylin said as she took a seat at the table, forcing her voice to be as even as possible. May I ask for the reason behind this meeting? We were not scheduled for a war council until tomorrow." "Something's come up." Kada ran a hand along the sharp, elongated scales lining his jaw, and turned to the officer closest to his right. You'll never guess the personal communication I just received." The officer kept his gaze locked directly before him, as he hadn't been given permission to do otherwise. "Go on, Admiral," the king said, shoving the officer to the side with more force than was necessary. "Guess." Regaining balance, the officer resumed his stance. "Was it from the Tsar, Your Majesty?" Zaylin's father chuckled, an action horrifically taboo for anyone else in the room. No, of course not. Think weirder, smaller." Annoyance, mingled with anxiety, pricked Zaylin's chest. She didn't have time for her father's games right now. Vaine was waiting outside, ready to take Zaylin to her siblings, where at the very least she'd be able to do something of consequence. Her bioband blipped. New message. "Where's Vaine? She's late." "Father called a meeting," Zaylin discreetly typed to her brother. Did I say that right? Where's Vaine? New message. "Where's Vaine? She's late." "Father called a meeting." Zaylin discreetly typed to her brother. "We'll both be there soon." The king smirked and snapped his fingers twice in the direction of a linguist in the corner, still keeping his gaze on the table in front of him. "Morrow. Translate the communication I received an hour ago."
Of course, Your Majesty.
The linguist cleared his throat and pressed the side of the table, prompting the biomatter screen to rush together into a pillar of water, which showcased a message in Scrounger dialect. Zaylen's blood froze, fingers hovering over her bioband. She didn't allow her face to do so much as twitch. Linguist Morrow clasped his hands before him as he spoke.
Though this is a rough translation, the communication essentially conveys this message. We are grateful for the gift given to us by your leader. It is always an honor to meet such strong allies in SAR space.
This wasn't just one of billions of messages sent to the palace, the king said. Damn it, the king said in a gentle whisper. This isn't just one of billions of messages sent to the palace, the king said in a gentle whisper. Someone gave those monsters my personal information. All Zaylen could do was clench her jaw to hide the trembling. The king clapped his hands together, spinning dramatically to face the officers who had been standing behind him. What do you say, friends? Are you excited to commit Xenocide? Is that how you say that? God forbid Kindle actually do something worthwhile. Like, is that how you say it? Xen? But it's actually pronounced with like a Z. Well, let me I need a pronunciation of this word if I'm gonna say it right. I'm just assuming Xeno is Xeno, even though it's an X. Yeah, like xenomorph. Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. Okay. Have you guys finished the puzzle? Do I need to start a new puzzle? You have. You guys gotta tell me that you finished a puzzle, so that I know to give you a new puzzle. Who wants to be flashbanged? Get flashbanged. The king clapped his hands together, spinning dramatically to face the officers who had been standing behind him. What do you say, friends? Are you excited to commit xenocide? What? The word escaped Zaylen's lips before she could stop it. Father, what are you talking about? The king glanced over his shoulder, the smile on his face shrinking a little. We're going to wipe out the Scroungers. I thought that much was obvious, Zaylen. Keep up. But they didn't do anything wrong. The scrounger could have killed them. It should have, or at the very least left Kellis to die. But it didn't. Zaylin wasn't about to reward its kindness with murder. They stole confidential information, the king said, voice light and airy. Besides, insinuating we would ever grant one of them a gift? Preposterous. Insulting, frankly. Since we don't know which scrounger sent the communication, we'll just have to kill them all. He playfully lifted a blaster from his belt and spun it between his fingers, hands dancing across every part but the trigger. That won't work. Shooting scroungers doesn't really hurt them anyway. His smile instantly vanished. How would you know that? Zaylin flinched. Stupid. He knew. It was a mistake. I didn't know they were friendly, and I panicked. So this is your fault? You gave them my IDN? The king stopped spinning his blaster and locked eyes with her, piercing her soul with a cold turquoise gaze. Tears. Maybe he hadn't known. Maybe she'd ruined it. Zaylin ducked her head and shrank away, focusing on her arms tucked underneath the table, as more messages from Wokmaw poured through. New message. Well, get here sooner. I'm bored. Oh, and Kellis says you still have her rock, and she wants it back. Her father released a yell and slammed his hands against the table. You're colluding with those beasts, aren't you? You probably put them up. You probably put them up to eating that border station. How long have you been going behind my back, you tear-stained bitch? Zaylin bit her lip and forced herself to stay small. We got lost. We didn't want to end up in SAR territory, but the autonav broke. New message. If Kellis were old enough, she'd have 1 billion Weeper's marks. She's lying face down on the floor, and she says she misses the rock so much, and she's sadder than she's ever been. I'm going insane. Please come back. We? A laugh bubbled up from his throat, and the sound of churning water and smell of musty algae indicated he was pacing back and forth. Are you talking about the kids? You took them to SAR space? Responding would only make things worse. She needed to shut up and focus on the messages from her siblings instead of her father. New message. I think she's trying to send you a message even though she doesn't know how to write. New message. Zln. Miss. You. N. Roke. Won't. Roke. Book. So. Plis. Km. New message. Kellis has sobbed so much she's raised the water level. Please, just get here so she'll stop. The king stormed around the table and grabbed Zaylin's wrist, twisting it around to read the messages. What's this? Why are my children crying? She's 6, Zaylin said, wrenching her hand out of his grip. She doesn't know any better. Is that what you've been telling them? That it's fine to weep just because they're young and don't know better? Her father's hand jerked toward her in a badly veiled threat. Zaylin flinched, but ultimately stood up to face him as her heart pounded so hard It sent pulses through her vision. "She's not old enough to earn marks anyway," she said. "Why do you even care?" "Because you're turning them weak, both of them." The king jabbed a finger in her face. Message them back, right now. Tell them they deserve the punishment they're going to get.
No, that wasn't going to happen. He wasn't going to touch them.
Zaylin typed a 7-word message. Before she could send it, the king took a step forward and she stumbled. Instinct demanded she raise her arms and prepare for the worst. But no. Not today. Not ever again. She met her father's eyes and lifted her chin. "Everyone knows you're a coward," she said, taking a few steps back, calculating every word. She needed to make him angry. He got stupid when he was angry. He stopped paying attention. "Everyone knows you're the weak one." The king froze, the muscles in his upper body tensing and contracting until he vibrated. "Liar. Liar! Take it back. Take it back." Zaylin slipped her hand into her pocket and found a small, smooth pebble. "You're stupid and a coward and weak. That's why you need a weeper to scare away your enemies, because you can't do it yourself." Her father lurched towards her, but swiveled around and grabbed a chair instead, hurling it into the wall with a roar. "I'll kill you, Zaylin! Take it back! Take it back now!" "No!" The word felt wonderful on her tongue. She should start using it a lot. She should have started using it a lot sooner. "You're not fit for the throne. Neither are you!" Every shred of composure gone. Zaylin's father tore a dagger from his belt and pointed it at her face, hand completely free of the tremors that racked. Every shred of composure gone, Zaylin's father tore a dagger from his belt and pointed it at her face, hand completely free of the tremors that had racked his frame just moments before. Zaylin did not flinch, and instead focused on the reflection of herself in the king's pupils. She wasn't a coward, not like him. If you're looking for a summary of why you heard me say something about a 6-year-old, the eldest daughter is the crown heir, and she is currently addressing her father, the king, who is known for being very aloof and laid back, however, very unpredictable and violent. And the father is upset that his youngest child, who I believe is like maybe 5 years old, was crying over a rock. Well, just crying at all. And that even though she's only 5 years old and doesn't understand her own emotions, that she should not be crying. So Zaylin, the 17-year-old, is telling her father to shut up and give the child some grace. It reminds me of when I was 5, right? Like, I'm not gonna go into it. All right. .6 seconds. Ooh. 10.6 seconds before assassination. No matter how much Vaine fiddled with the access panel, it refused to bend to her will. She grew more frantic as the conversation on the other side of the door escalated in volume. Releasing a growl of frustration, she slammed her palm against the door. Her bioband blipped, and she glanced at it to see a message from an unknown source. "I know your secret, Admiral." Vaine scowled. The first time she'd gotten a message like this, she panicked. Until, of course, she'd realized the messages only started coming after she'd taught a lesson to the kids about anonymous IDNs. Now, she received communications from unknown numbers with a mixture of annoyance and pride. She briefly tuned out the muffled conversation behind her as she typed the response. And what would that be? "You don't know how to read numbers." Vaine didn't have time for this. "And you don't realize the point of anonymous data sources is to obscure your identity," she typed. "Try again, Wokmaw." A wordless yell from the king. Blaster fire. Zaylin screaming. Vaine frantically yanked on the door, but it refused to budge. She needed to get inside. Now! Could she break the entry panel to get in? Could she break the entry pad to get in? She couldn't remember. Years of training and engineering vanished as she became consumed with the need to get inside. Really, TikTok? A stupid, stupid thing. Literally, I have... Years of training and engineering vanished as she became consumed with the need to get inside. 3 more shots in rapid succession. Then nothing. Vaine clamped her hands over her mouth to keep any noise from escaping. That hadn't happened. What she'd heard? It didn't mean what she thought it did. It didn't. It couldn't. Zaylin was fine. This was just a misunderstanding. Vaine would be right here when she walked out. Even through the door, the king's heavy breath filled every empty space. Then another deep, deep breath mingled with a sigh. "It appears an assassin has murdered the crown heir and all but one of my officers." Silence gripped Vaine's heart and wrenched it to her stomach. "The question is," the king said, voice calm as a dark mirror, "which one of you will be the lucky survivor?" Nothing for a moment. Blaster fire from a dozen different weapons. Shouting. A sharp pain throbbed in Vaine's shoulder, and it was only then she realized She had been throwing herself against the sliding metal door in a mad frenzy. It didn't take a brilliant engineer to realize that wasn't going to get her closer to Zaylin. Vaine ran. She bolted down the hallway, heart pounding on her ribcage and demanding to be let out. She didn't press the access panel to the training room door, instead wrenching it open with her bare hands, like she should have been able to do just seconds before. Wokmaw sat with his feet up on his desk, opting not to wear shoes. He smirked from his bioband, not looking up. "You're really late. Vaine pulled him to his feet and into the tightest embrace she could manage, gripping the back of his head and holding him close. He was here. He was okay. She couldn't let anything happen to him. He didn't wriggle from her hold, instead freezing in place. "What's going on?" We need to go. Now. Where's Kellis? We need to go. Now. Where's Kellis? She didn't know where they'd go. Or how. They just needed to leave. Away from the screams and the blaster fire and the cries. You're shaking, Wokmaw said. Something's wrong. What happened? She couldn't tell him. She couldn't tell herself. Where's Kellis? She asked again. I don't know. Salakin took her on a trip or something to stop her from crying. Why are you acting so weird? Wokmaw squirmed out of her arms, face twisted in confusion. Bile began to force its way up Vaine's throat, and she swallowed it down. We're going to get Kellis. Okay, Wokmaw said. Let's just run by my room and... No! Now! Vaine gripped Wokmaw's wrist and pulled him through the door. She didn't know where they were going or how they would find Kellis. It didn't matter. The carpet splashed around her feet, and though it was clear as glass, every drop looked like blood to her. Wokmaw yanked his wrist away from her. Where are we going? What happened? Vaine couldn't answer, so she grabbed his wrist again and tried to keep going. He widened his stance and ripped himself free. Tears. He was almost as strong as she was. I'm not going anywhere with you until you tell me what's going on! He folded his arms and stepped away from her. Vaine nearly screamed. He was in danger. Why couldn't he listen? Why couldn't he do as she asked without resisting just once? She opened her mouth to vocalize her thought, but then she saw him looking at her, though not by much. No anger burned in those gigantic turquoise eyes. Only terror. Vaine took a deep breath and forced herself to appear relaxed, calm. He needed to see that she was calm. She gripped his shoulders, trying to ease his fear with a strong gaze. Wokmaw, she said softly. I'm your knight. It's my job to protect you. And I need you to let me do my job. It's going to be all right.
But you have to trust me. Okay?
He glanced at the ground, obviously grappling with his thoughts, though. Then he looked up and gave a single nod. Vaine squeezed his shoulders and offered a smile.
Thank you. I'm proud of you.
Admiral Vaine, the king said. Vaine whirled, shoving Wokmaw behind her with one hand and drawing her blaster with the other. The king stood before her, completely unperturbed by the splatters of violet blood on his jacket and the weapon pointed at his face, which he casually dismissed with the flicker of his hand. At ease, Admiral. It's me. Vaine's finger wandered to the trigger, but then noticed the entourage of royal guards standing right behind the king. The second she fired, so would they, and a dozen bullets would go straight through her and into Wokmaw. Vaine lowered her weapon, then pressed her finger to her forehead in salute.
Forgive me, Your Majesty. I heard there was an attack, and I've been on edge.
As sharp as ever, Admiral. Ah, as sharp as ever, Admiral. There has indeed been an attack. We're evacuating now. You are to join us. He turned to the highest-ranking guard. Surround the Crown Heir. His safety is your first priority.
Vaine stood by, helpless, as the guard circled Wokmaw in a tight formation. But I'm not the Crown Heir, Wokmaw said.
You are now,
the king said. Wokmaw's face drained to a pale gray, and he looked up in desperation at Vaine through the cage of guards. She swallowed. There wasn't anything she could do, not without putting his life at risk.
Now let's move,
the king said.
There's a murderer on the loose. There's a murderer on the loose.
Don't forget to take a drink of water.
You know, I'm kind of hungry. I'd love to have a pizza. Pizza. Hey, did you guys know that I have Treat Stream? If you wanted to, you could send me food.
Let's continue.
Vaine trailed the royal entourage. Vaine trailed the royal entourage until the king left the planet, ready to throw herself between him and Wokmaw, just in case. He'd been shuttled off-world for his protection, but didn't insist on the same treatment for Wokmaw. He'd likely be back before the end of the day. For now, he was far, far away from the other kids, and that's all that mattered. In the meantime, Vaine needed to know. She needed to know if there was no hope, if there was nothing left to be done, if Zaylin could be saved. The entire attack had taken place 10 minutes ago, 10 lifetimes ago. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe Vaine could still do something. She approached the stratagem room with shaking hands and found an officer standing guard.
No entry,
he said. Vaine lifted a blue pearl. Give me 15 minutes, please. The guard hesitated, but accepted the pearl with a nod.
As long as you're gone before the investigators get here.
I will. The guard opened the door for her, and she slid inside, stomach swirling. She had to look. She had to see. Forcing down the nausea, Vaine lifted her head to see the mass of bodies scattered around the room. The one nearest to her had once been Croxus, and his eyes stared up at her, ignoring the spear embedded in his chest. None of them made any noise. No gasps. No groans. Only the gentle slosh of deep violet water against her ankles. It had been so recent. There had to be someone alive. She had to be alive. It didn't take long for Vaine to find her, close to the table, sprawled out on the ground. The water was darkest by her face. Vaine gently rolled her over, and her stomach sank. It didn't look good. All Zaylin's features were obscured by blood, and her body offered no resistance. Vaine flipped open the med kit she'd stolen from the infirmary and used the cloth to wipe Zaylin's forehead and cheeks.
Stay here, Zaylin,
Vaine whispered.
Please, please, please.
The cloth revealed 4 blaster wounds, desecrating Zaylin's face, and the remaining skin was colored a sickly orange. Oh, hi. Hi, Moonlight Fae. Welcome. Welcome. Here, I'll pause the recording. Hello and welcome, Raiders. Thank you so much for joining. How are you today? How was your stream? What did you do? Can we get a shout out, please? If you don't know me, my name is Steph. I read books and stories on stream. Here you are in a cozy, peaceful, safe haven to escape from the stresses and anxieties of the world. So, if you are sleeping, continue to slumber. If you are relaxing, we do offer a puzzle and my voice for you to continue listening to. I hope that you had a wonderful stream, and if you or anyone needed to step away and get drink, water, food, other beverage, touch grass, run an errand, and do what it is that you need to do, and I am grateful for you being here nonetheless. To give you some context as to what it is that I am reading today, I do record while I read, so I do not stop and talk to chat, so I apologize for that, but it also does help keep the immersion. I am reading a sci-fi alien soap opera that currently is, unfortunately, in terms of timing, in a rather emotional and trigger warning kind of spot in the story. We are following the main character, Vaine, who is a weeper, and to cry makes you a weeper, which is kind of like the worst status that you can be. Testing if OBS would explode. Oh no. Was OBS giving you more trouble today? I haven't had any issues, but I haven't updated in a while. I am doing fantastic today, albeit like in the past hour I've been making a lot of mistakes and having to repeat myself, so I've been trying my best, but we're trying not to be too hard on ourselves. How are you? And thank you so much again for bringing your community here and trusting me to take care of them. In terms of the trigger warning for where we are in this book, Vaine had saved the royal children. The eldest daughter, Zaylin, whom we are describing, is about 16 or 17. The middle child is Vaine's liege. He is almost 12, and the youngest is about 5 or maybe 7. Vaine saved them from being stranded in enemy space, but the king is sporadic and spontaneous and violent. And we find out that the king somehow, by some circumstance, knows or learned about what happened, and Zaylin stood up to him and unfortunately lost her life. So Vaine is, of course, very upset by this and is holding on to hope that Zaylin truly is somehow still alive. But we are learning now that that is not the case. So I apologize for the unfortunate circumstance of which you guys are joining into. It is just a very highly emotional moment. OBS hates me, but today there are not many issues. Ooh, that's really good. I hope you hydrate a lot. Oh, believe me, I keep my hydrates on no cooldown, and I keep them really cheap because I need to drink a lot of water, so I always encourage more hydrates. I'm going to go back into the reading, and like I said, I do record, so I won't be able to keep talking to chat, but everybody is, welcome to chat with each other about what's going on in the book. You're welcome to solve the puzzle if you are on Twitch. You can literally just say the word puzzle and you'll get the link. If you are on another platform, like TikTok or on YouTube, you can go to the link in the profile and you'll find the community puzzle link there. Otherwise, I will be recording and we should be ending this chapter in like 2 pages. Excuse me. And thank you again so much, Moonlight. Thank you for the raid. Did you guys finish the puzzle already? Okay, that was really fast. There's a stray Dewey. Hi, Dewey. Welcome. Alright, I have started a new puzzle for you. There's a random Dewey. Dewey pops up. The water was darkest by her face. Vaine gently rolled her over, and her stomach sank. It didn't look good. All Zaylen's features were obscured by blood, and her body offered no resistance. Vaine flipped open the medkit she'd stolen from the infirmary and used the cloth to wipe Zaylen's forehead and cheeks.
Stay here, Zaylen,
Vaine whispered.
Please, 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 please.
The cloth revealed 4 blaster wounds desecrating Zaylen's face, and the remaining skin was colored a sickly orange. Vaine knew what that meant. She kept working anyway, cleaning Zaylen's wounds and covering them with stim patches. These stopped the bleeding, but the kid, she'd been gone long before Vaine arrived. She was too late. There was nothing to be done, but Vaine couldn't muster up the strength to leave. Instead, she gathered Zaylen into her arms and held her, surrounded by corpses and Violet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You didn't.
Vaine choked and pulled Zaylen's forehead into her shoulder.
You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong.
The words drifted away, unheard. Vaine tightened her grip as if it would force the kid to take another breath. Years ago, Vaine's mother had spoken her last words on Zevaean's surface. On Zevaea's surface. Words that she repeated often in letters. My children deserve to be mourned. Vaine didn't understand at the time. She'd been hurt, too distraught. She'd been too hurt, too distraught, too angry over losing everyone all at once. Now it made sense. She pressed her forehead into Zaylen's hair and wept. Chapter 12. 7 years post Wokmaw. Let me double check on this, okay? 'Cause I'm not sure if that is supposed to be 7 years. I gotta check the timing. Seven years and 1 month post Wokmaw. Okay, so it's very possible 7 years, and we had said that was supposed to be 5 months, I believe. So this saying 7 years post Wokmaw, that the timeline is doing things. So, let me see if I can go back. I apologize, but so let me bookmark this, because if anyone was here when we had started chapter 11, we had encountered something confusing with the timestamps. The chapters will open with a timestamp. And with chapter 11, in which the assassination took place, it was 7 years and 5 months post Wokmaw. So technically this chapter and the next one should be also 7 years, 5 months post Wokmaw, etc., etc. So I think that unfortunately this might just be something that I have to correct in terms of the audiobook. And it's good that I'm recording. Yes, I've set up the bot to do some very helpful things. Okay, yeah, so we'll just keep going with the 7 years and 7 years and 5 months post Wokmaw. Chapter 12. 7 years and 5 months post Wokmaw. Iris kept her lips in a thin line. She knew Vaine cared about the young heirs, but this was overboard, even for her. The kids had an entire squadron of guards outside their door, but Vaine still insisted on standing with them, without rest, for 2 days. "Admiral, I'm here to relieve you of duty," Iris said. Vaine shook her head. Her sunken cheeks made the scales on her face sharp and pronounced. The color of her skin had already become dull and more ashen. Iris hadn't seen her like this since their mother had been banished. "That is an order," Iris snapped. "We're the same rank, and different departments besides. You don't have the authority to tell me what to do." Vaine swayed on her feet and used her spear to steady herself. A spear she barely knew how to actually use. If the Crown Guard hadn't been there, Iris would have started yelling. Vaine needed to listen to her, not because of any rank nonsense, but because Iris was her sister and had a responsibility to make sure she didn't drop dead of exhaustion. "I can get you a replacement," Iris said. "I'm sure the king wouldn't object to assigning an additional squad to watch the children." I don't like how I said that. "I can get you a replacement," Iris said. "I'm sure the king wouldn't object to assigning an additional squad to watch the children." "No," Vaine said. "I need to be here." One of the guards cleared her throat. "Admiral, we can keep them safe. The murderer is being hunted by the king's elite forces as we speak.
The prince and princess will be fine enough for one night, at least. Even the members of the guard were encouraging her to rest. This wasn't just Iris being an overprotective sister. Vaine said nothing, but her stance very clearly indicated that she was not moving. Not by choice. Not by choice, anyway. Iris could probably knock her down with a gentle poke. They can't even leave their rooms, the guard said. They're under the same schedule and amount of protection as the king. We'll be diligent as you would. We promise. We promise. So, no members of the royal family are even allowed to wander until the murderer is apprehended? Vaine asked. The guard nodded. See, everyone cares about the heirs just as much as you, Vaine said. Iris said. Go home. Vaine swallowed, then deflated. Okay. Finally. Before Vaine could change her mind again, Iris led her to the warp pad. She nearly fell asleep twice and dropped her spear at least once. Iris was too worried about her to think about what this would do to her sister's image. More rumors about how she was unhinged, in a bad way, that her distress was a sign of how unfit she was to care for the royal family. The royal family. Okay, maybe Iris wasn't too worried to think about that. When they finally arrived home, Vaine dropped the spear in the water and didn't even acknowledge the koi circling around. No. And didn't even acknowledge the koi swirling around her feet, demanding attention and food. Get some sleep. Go get some sleep, Iris said. Vaine ignored her and staggered to the washroom, where she vomited into the sink. This was more serious than Iris had initially thought. Vaine likely wasn't ill, but she'd been known to behave this way when faced with violence in the past. How much had she seen? Do you want to talk about it? Iris asked softly. Vaine panted, trembling hands gripping the sink. None of the witnesses survived, she whispered. Not even one of the officers in that room made it out. No lucky survivors. The murderer. He made sure they died if they knew. Every single one. Everyone who knows, he'll kill them. And anyone they tell. Her anxiety suddenly made more sense. With such a devastating killer on the loose, and no clues in regard to their identity. The king was there too, Iris said. And he escaped. So that's one witness, at least. Vaine retched into the sink again. Iris hated seeing her like this. It wasn't fair. Vaine was soft and fragile, and deserved to live in a world that wasn't built to break her. I'll make you a cup of something warm, Iris said. You lie down.
Vaine closed her eyes and pressed her head against the wall above the sink, still shaking. Despite how bad she'd appeared to be while guarding the kids' doors, she'd actually been much, much worse. Iris placed a hand on Vaine's shoulder and gave her a comforting squeeze. "It'll be okay. You've always worried Rokvaw's parents didn't care much for him, right? Well, now you know they won't stop paying attention to him." Vaine groaned and slid to the floor, pressing her forehead into her knees and wrapping her arms around her legs. "I think I need some space." "Right," Iris said. You let me know if you need anything." All Vaine did in response was shove the door closed with her foot. Can I read the next chapter? Do I have... Okay. I mean, like... Oh. Okay. We keep going. Nope. We start with the chapter. Chapter 13. 7 years, 5 months, and 1 week post Wokmaw. Vaine's wrist blinked, indicating a summons from the Queen. Though her heart sank, her immediate thought was, at least it isn't him. "I've gotta leave," Vaine said, tucking the blankets around Kellis's tiny form. "You sleep well, okay?" "I don't want to," Kellis whispered. "I'm too sad." "I know. Me too." Vaine kissed the tips of her fingers and pressed them against Kellis's forehead. "After my meeting, I'll be waiting right outside if you need me. In the meantime, close your eyes and think of happy things." Kellis squeezed her eyes shut and wriggled further under the covers. "Get back fast." Vaine couldn't help but smile. She stood up and began to walk away, but Kellis grabbed her thumb in her tiny fingers. "Sir Vaine, I know Zaylin is gone, but will she be back?" A bit of Vaine's soul split apart, and she shoved away images of the holes blasted through Zaylin's orange skin. "No, she won't be." Vaine didn't know how to explain it beyond that. She knew the kid knew about death, but hadn't been able to choke out the word itself. All she'd been able to tell Kellis was, she's gone. Maybe one day she'd be strong enough to explain, but not today. Vaine left Kellis's chambers and nodded to the 2 members of the Crown Guard standing at her door. They gave her a simple salute, gazes averted. It had been about a day and a half since Iris had basically dragged Vaine from her post, and everyone was aware of the rumors and speculations flying around. There wasn't any proof that she'd wept over Zaylin, but plenty suspected. None of them were willing to challenge her over it. Iris had made the footage from both Wokmaw and Kaivalis relevant history, and that seemed to have reminded the rest of the court that Vaine was a threat. She crossed the hallway to knock on Rokvaw's door, ignoring the guards posted there. The kid hadn't come out of his chambers for almost the entire day, and remained unresponsive whenever she had seen him. "I'm leaving," Vaine said. "Is there anything you need before I go?" Silence. Vaine sighed and pressed her forehead against the door, flaring the frills around her ears to catch any sound made inside the room. "Message me when you want to talk." She heard very, very faint shuffling, and nothing more. She'd have to send an anonymous message to him later. So far, he hadn't exactly handled the situation well. That was probably what his mother wanted to speak about. The kid was visibly distraught, and it wasn't a good look. "Let me know the instant the king comes back to the planet's surface," Vaine told the members of the guard. "That's an order, and the most important one I've ever given you." She glanced across the hall at the guard standing in front of Kellis's door to make sure they understood her well, and didn't leave until every single soldier in the hallway gave her a salute in understanding. Keeping her shoulders back and head high, Vaine wound her way through the palace until she reached the queen's quarters. 3 members of the guard stood outside her door, and they all saluted as she approached. "The Sovereign Crown desires your presence inside." Vaine didn't even register where the words came from, and nodded in response, stepping through the doors as they slid open for her. Before she could second-guess herself, the doors closed again, trapping her inside the queen's chambers. She swallowed, and clasped her hands together to mask their trembling. "You called for me, Your Majesty?" Vaine asked, standing at attention. The vastness of the queen's room and the many pieces of towering furniture threatened to engulf her, and the dim light prevented her from immediately seeing where the queen was.
"Yes, you certainly took your time."
Vaine blinked in an effort to adjust her eyes to the poor light, and finally caught sight of the queen lounging on the edge of her bed in willowy evening attire. A chalice, mostly empty, dangled from the tips of her curled fingers. "I apologize," Vaine said, averting her gaze to the floor. "I'll be more punctual in the future, Your Majesty."
"I shouldn't be surprised, really,"
the queen said. Something about her seemed off.
"You've probably been celebrating."
Vaine's head snapped up, and her fingernails dug into her palms. Celebrating?
"I don't understand, Your Majesty. There is literally nothing to celebrate."
"Don't be an idiot." The queen scoffed and took a sip from her glass, how do I emphasize that she is halving? Halving? Do I put the L in there? Having the liquid inside
Wokmaw officially accepts the title of heir tomorrow, you'll be the fourth most powerful person in the entire empire. Congratulations. I still don't understand, Vaine said. There are still many officers in the court who outrank me. The crown heir worships you, Sir Vaine.
The queen pulled a single knee towards her chest and stared off into the distance, loose hair framing her face and falling past her shoulders.
And why wouldn't he? You're the perfect caretaker. The most devoted of his knights. He'd do anything you ask.
Vaine forced her jaw to unclench. The kid had never done a single thing she'd requested without fighting her with every ounce of stubborn force he had.
With all due respect, Your Majesty, I don't think that's entirely accurate. Even if it was, I wouldn't celebrate it.
That was as close she could get to saying, "How dare you?" The queen scoffed again.
You should. You've gained everything. The instant he replaces me as the sovereign crown, the empire is yours. I've gained nothing but grief.
The words came out as barely a whisper, but as soon as they left Vaine's mouth, the queen's lip lifted in a snarl. This conversation wasn't going anywhere. The queen was at least a little intoxicated, and Vaine was dangerously close to becoming angry. She opened her mouth to request her leave, but the queen hurled her chalice against the wall, shattering it.
Hello, Jaden's Story. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for the raid. I hope you are having a wonderful night. How was your stream? Please tell me about it. I am StephTsu. I read books and stories on stream. You are welcome to continue sleeping if you are asleep, or relax. You can either listen to my voice, you can lurk, and you can also solve a puzzle if you simply say the word puzzle. Also doing ASMR? Well, I'm glad that you are having a good time today. And welcome, fellow ASMR enjoyers. Jaden, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you for trusting me with your community. To give some context as to what's going on in the story right now, if you'd like to know about the book and author, !book, if you'd like to know about the trigger warnings, we are in a sensitive moment of the story right now, !TW. And if you're interested in purchasing a copy of the book signed by the author themselves, !buy book. This is Drown the Stars by Quiana Chase. And currently we are over halfway through the book, and we just finished a very major plot point, of which the crown heir, the 16 or 17-year-old eldest daughter, Zaylin, was murdered. And we know, as the reader, that it was the result of her father and his angry, spontaneous, unexpected, just his extremely violent nature and unfortunate circumstances that led up to that. Drown the Stars is a sci-fi alien soap opera, kind of. That's how the author describes it.
And there are going to be some provocative scenes that come up here shortly. But all of our characters, minus the king, are currently experiencing grief. And in this society, it doesn't matter if you're queer. It doesn't matter if you're, a different race, a different kind of person. But if you openly show weak emotion, you are considered a weeper and the lowest class citizen. And we are following Vaine, who is a weeper. Vaine had wept openly at the loss of her elder brother, and that earned her a weeper's mark. And her parents had been sent to Draxus, the labor camp moon, whatever the hell it is. I don't remember. Never published it. Jaden, you gotta publish it. You gotta. I have no room to speak. I haven't even finished my book, but mine too is still sitting at Google Drive. I want to publish mine one day if, I ever get around to finish writing it. Anyway. But, so yes, trigger warning, there's a lot of grief happening, and, I would love to read it. Even if it's just an excerpt, I'd love to read it. 2 years ago, I actually did read the introduction, the first chapter of my book on stream, but that was 2 years ago. Gosh. So yeah, trigger warning, grief. We just finished kind of covering the act of violence and a little bit of gore, but there is also going to be, trauma that we can tell trauma is happening, okay? But we are about to get into some, what would you say, provocative scenes? And I am recording, so I do apologize if I don't continue to talk with chat and welcome everybody in, but please welcome in. Also, Bill, thank you so much for the 100 bits, and thank you so much for the opportunity on Tuesday to listen along to the audio drama. Where was I? Okay. This conversation wasn't going anywhere. The queen was at least a little intoxicated, and Vaine was dangerously close to becoming angry. She opened her mouth to request her leave, but the queen hurled her chalice against the wall, shattering it. Vaine flinched, then forced her body to remain absolutely rigid. Maybe if she was still enough, silent enough, the queen would forget she was there. You have nothing to grieve. The queen pressed the palms of her hands against her temples. She was my daughter. My daughter. My heir. My child. My... She choked on the last word, and her chin fell to her chest. I wasn't allowed to hold her when she was born, you know? I wasn't allowed to hold her when she was born, you know? My father wouldn't let me. That
was what finally convinced me to kill him.
A jolt surged through Vaine's chest. She wasn't sure what was more shocking. How quickly the Queen confessed to murder, or the fact that there seemed to be a tenderness towards her children buried somewhere in her soul. Deeply, deeply buried. Uncovered only by grief and alcohol, but there nonetheless. It was only then Vaine noticed how disheveled and ragged the Queen looked. The war paint on her face had been reduced to smudges, and her hair fell in untamed waves to the center of her back. Had she ever seen the Queen with her hair down? No, she hadn't. She'd also never seen the woman in her nightclothes either. Vaine blinked and forced herself to look away from the sheer fabric draped across her shoulders. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty." She flinched again, expecting the Queen to berate her for offering pity. But instead the Queen sighed. "Faze," she said, speaking softer than Vaine had ever heard. "My name is Faze." Almost of their own accord, Vaine's feet carried her to the edge of Faye's bed. She couldn't say why exactly. It just felt like the right thing to do. "I've watched you," Faze said. "I've watched you make them smile. I hate you for it, but I also wished that someone had done that for me. But then I hate you even more because you weren't always here. How dare you not always be here? How dare you arrive only when my childhood is gone and it's too late? When I'm already too broken to understand how to make my own children love me. I shouldn't want them to love me. I shouldn't want them to love me. I should want them to be afraid. But I see how they look at you and I can't help it. Though she still refused to look directly at her, Faze reached out and grabbed Vaine's fingers. Her touch sent lightning through Vaine's bones, up her spine, to her brain. You're the only one I can trust, Faze said. You know that, don't you? You're the only one who cares nothing for the right things and everything for the wrong things. You're the only one of Rokwa's knights who isn't grateful for my daughter's death. Vaine couldn't speak. She couldn't move, could barely hear Faze speak over the sound of her own heartbeat, and remained unable to peel her gaze away from the soft fingers wrapped around her own. You're so good at making the children feel better, Vaine. You've been so busy comforting them. Faze released a hum
and shifted her grip, pressing her thumb into the center of Vaine's palm. But how do you receive comfort? I don't need comfort, Faze. I take care of the crown, not the other way around. The more time Vaine spent around Faze like this, the more she realized she did want something from the Queen. Something wildly inappropriate to ask for. Before Vaine could pull back, Faze gripped the collar of her uniform, fingering the top button. Then take care of me. I'm not sure I understand, Vaine said. She couldn't think clearly. She tried desperately to keep her eyes away from the Queen's form, barely concealed by her gossamer gown. But that left Vaine looking directly into her crystal eyes, which was even worse. If she stayed here much longer, she was going to do something stupid. Faze undid the top button of Vaine's coat and moved to the next one, fingers tracing her collarbone on the way down. There was no way she was doing what Vaine thought she was doing, what she wanted her to be doing. It would feel so nice. It would feel so nice to collapse in the arms of someone who understood how badly it hurt. Faze undid another button, tugging Vaine closer as she did so. She almost lost her footing and fell onto the bed, but managed to remain standing. Barely. How bad would it be, really, to bury her head in the shoulder of someone who missed Zaylin as much as she did, and... What was she thinking? This was the Queen. Rokvar's mother. Rokvar's mother. This was just another test. Another button came free. This wasn't right. Vaine wasn't a licensed consort, and she didn't have the time to take on the responsibilities of one. She was already a knight, a caretaker, a tutor. Faze hummed and slid her fingers further down the front of Vaine's chest, towards the next button, her touch igniting sparks of adrenaline. Test. Right. She'd just told Vaine how trusted she was. Well, a trusted member of the court would keep to court procedure. A trusted member of the court wouldn't climb into bed with the sovereign crown while her husband was away. She'd be trusted then. She'd pass the test. Vaine fumbled to grab one of the bedsheets and pulled it over the Queen's shoulders, lightly tucking her in like a child. Where are you going? The softness and vulnerability faded from the Queen's voice, leaving only a monarch who demanded obedience. I need to go. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Your Majesty. Vaine saluted and bent into a bow, keeping out of the Queen's reach. She somehow found the self-control to fumble with the doorway panel until it opened. Vaine stumbled out of the chambers, nearly crashing into the guards stationed there. The instant they saw her, their eyebrows lifted.
and it was only then she realized her uniform was unbuttoned nearly to her navel. Heat flushed to her cheeks, and Vaine quickly set her uniform back in order, striding away as fast as she could without breaking into a full sprint. It didn't mean anything. Nothing in there. The Queen probably wouldn't remember it. It was a test. She was drunk. Vaine was overthinking. It was fine. She had more important things to worry about. That is the end of chapter 13. Yuri. Well, we were getting into Yuri territory, but we didn't go anywhere too far, Sad? Hey now, I can't read anything too spicy on these platforms. Now, if we're talking about I can't read anything too spicy on this website, okay? Well, I say this website. I'm currently streaming to 3 different websites. But we are at the end of my stream. I mean, unless... Nothing too juicy. Yeah, what is that funny haha trend? There's oh, my steak is too juicy, my lobster too buttery. Me when Steph finally reads smut on stream. I'm stream hoping, hopping, hoping or hopping. You're hoping for more. You're hoping for smut, or or Yuri. You're hoping for Yuri? I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you at this point. Let's see. Okay, how long is chapter 14? Let's take a look, because I didn't expect the previous chapter to be as short as it was. Thank you for the hydrates. Looks like I am very close to empty. Thank you for the stretch. And thank you for the follow. Welcome to Sanctuary. I hope you enjoy your stay. And if you don't know, I will be back tomorrow night. All right, let's see. So chapter 14 starts on 2:33. Oh, chapter 15 starts on 2:42. That's actually not very big. I think we could probably do another one, because the chapter 15 is actually the start of part 3. I never really liked reading books, but this feels nice. It's nice because you don't have to be the one reading it. Though, of course, I wish I was perfect. Hi, King. Hello. Though I wish I was perfect and, I didn't make mistakes all the time when I was reading. But we don't have that luxury. I just thought of this. I should make some kind of on-screen text-to-speech so that if, if somebody subscribes or gifts a sub. Excuse me. I'm drinking so much water that I have bubbles. That if somebody resubscribes or gifts a sub, that they can do text-to-speech. Hi, Ash. Words are hard. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's all, like, with the background noise, you're literally getting a movie playing in your head while you're, like, doing stuff. So it's very comforting. So maybe I can find a way to set it up so that resubscribes and gift subs have text-to-speech. And also, what kind of advantage? I actually don't know what that is. I would love to be enlightened, but I also, I mean, if you're busy doing something, that's okay. What kind of incentive do you think I should set for this? Do you think, what kind of incentive should I have? Should this be if, like, I don't know, somebody donates, they get a text-to-speech, and they get to make me bald? I never realized that I was cute as bald individual. No hair. No hair, have an ass. No? You don't like that? You don't like my hair gone missing? Oh, you can't see any.
Excuse me?
Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Swimming time. You don't like the bald? Okay. I just wanted to, look at it. I can also, this is a small detail, I can also remove the outlines. And I feel like that is a unique detail, is that I can remove the outlines on my model. And I can put them back. But I think it looks really cool without, personally. Okay, what time is it? It's about 8:30. Let me see. Yeah, it's about 8:30. So normally I do limit my live streams to 2 hours because this is pretty intense on my voice to be reading and narrating and talking so much. PM. It's nighttime for me. Also because when you are narrating, it's not just that you are talking for so long, like, oh, there are other streamers who are just chatting streamers and they talk all day, they do 8-hour streams, cool for them. I am using my full range and I am pushing my voice to the brink of what I'm capable of doing. And I am not a seasoned professional in this field, so I do not have the level of endurance that some narrators do. So I think even though I could probably read this next chapter and it wouldn't take too long, I think that I should probably, prioritize the sustainability of my voice and go ahead and end stream, okay? This means that if you are watching on YouTube and TikTok, the stream is going to end for you, but I highly encourage joining the Discord server. You will be notified when I go live or post on social media, etc. You choose what you want to be notified for. That's up to you. If you miss me and you can't join on the next live stream, you can check the YouTube tab there are previous live streams available to you, and they will not expire. If you are watching on Twitch, we are going to raid out, so !raid and copy the raid message. When we join our other creator, please do behave. You are representing this community, so please represent this community well. And let's see, what else do I normally say? I'm sorry, my brain's not put together. This is the part where we say our good nights, our goodbyes, and our see you tomorrows. I will be back again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time Zone to continue reading more of Drown the Stars. We will resume with chapter 14 and then go into part 3. I won't tell you the name of the part because that's important information. Please copy the raid message, and we are going to join another creator in a raid. And until tomorrow, please drink your water, eat your food, be kind to yourself and others, and have a great night. Good night.